welcome back to Marshall Gold Discovery State Historic Park. This is where in 1848 James Marshall discovered gold and started the California gold rush. Now here in Coloma, most of the gold that was mined was what we call placer gold. Placer gold is gold that has already been separated from the surrounding rock. But in their struggle for riches, sometimes the miners came across gold-bearing quartz and had to devise mechanisms to unlock that ore and release the precious metal. Now here in California, this wasn't the only place in the 1800s where gold was being mined. There were also gold mines down in Mexico and down in South America. So when some of those miners came up here to work the mines, they brought with them some of their mining technology, such as the Arrastra here. Now this was a way to grind up the quartz and release the gold, and it was pretty simple to make from items that were found here in the area. First, our miners would have to dig out a little bit of a well here, and then they would fill the bottom with close-fitting smooth rocks. Then they would need to find 4 great big heavy rocks like this that could crush up their ore. Those rocks they would then chain to these cross members, which could have been made from local lumber. Once they had this all put together, then they would just need maybe a donkey or maybe even a strong miner to pull this around. And as they pulled it around, it would drag these rocks over the gold-bearing ore and release the gold. Now this was just one of the ways that the miners used to crush up the ore. Next, we're going to talk about the chili wheel. This wheel would have been used in a well similar to the one we had with the Arrastra. It would have been actually up on end like a wheel. There would have been a beam through here that would have gone to the outside of the well and would have been the way that the mule turned the wheel around in the well. So once our miners, either through the Arrastra or through the chili wheel, had pulverized the ore and released the gold, they still needed to pan that gold out. If you would like to know more about how they pan that out, please watch our panning video. Miners discovered that there were gold-bearing quartz veins underground. They started what was called hard rock mining. Hard rock mining is more of what we typically think of as mining, which is when you're tunneling into the side of a mountain and pulling the rocks out. Now once they started doing that, they needed to bring in bigger machinery to process that ore and extract the gold. So they brought in things like this stamp mill here. Now the way this works is your ore is going to come in up above here, and it's going to get dumped into this hopper here. And then it goes down through into this compartment. And in this compartment there are cast iron shoes or stamps. Usually there were 5 in there. And they're like a big coffee can, a big heavy coffee can. And as the ore goes through there, those go up and down and they crush that ore. On the front of here, there is a screen. It's a 40 mesh screen, which means that there were 1,600 holes per square inch in that screen. And the reason that is there is because they wanted to make sure that all that rock got as finely crushed as it could so that the gold would get released. Now once all the rock has been crushed, it's going to come through that screen. It's going to go across this plate here. That plate would have been covered with mercury. Now mercury is like a sponge, and it sucks in the gold. Gold is attracted to the mercury. So as the ore is run across this, the gold is going to get sucked down into that mercury, and once that mercury is saturated with the gold, it's going to be scraped off there and put into a retort. Once we've collected our mercury from our stamp mill, we need to separate out the gold from the mercury. And what we're going to use to do that is a retort. So we're going to take that mercury that is full of gold and we're going to stick it in this retort. And we're going to heat this up. As we heat it up, the mercury turns into a vapor, goes out the top here and down this tube. As it travels down the tube, it's cooled down and turns back into a liquid again, coming out at the other end so that we can use it again. So what's left in here is gold and other trace metals. So now we've seen how we're going to go from our ore to our gold. I hope that you'll stick around for some of our other videos, learn more about the people, places, and history of Coloma.